What's going on, everybody? Y'all already know who it is. Your boy Zay, Xavier and Khalid, Mr. X. Just get the name correct so I know that you respect. If you don't know who it is, um, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. Do what you do to any of regular YouTube video. And we're going to get straight into it. So today's lesson that I am bringing to y'all that I wrote um, is about brotherhood, sisterhood, just how we commingle, specifically more so in the African American communities. Um, whether it's relationships, whether it's, co-workers, school friends, um, family, doesn't really matter. It's all brotherhood, sisterhood at the end of the day. Um, we all come from the Adam gene. Hold on, my prayer alarm is going off. That means I have to pray in a little bit. But just first starting off, the first thing I even wrote on here, as you can see, I have my notes. First thing I even wrote on here was, as black men, we gotta love our black women, man. We gotta do better at doing that. Social media have you thinking something totally different, totally crazy about either one. Black women. I'm a guy, so I can't really write. Black women love the black man, but from a guy's perspective, we got to do better. So because they're the black backbone of our society, and the reason why is because they're the nurturers. So women nurture children, right? And children who are nurtured feel loved, and children who feel loved and know that they're loved are more receptive to the world, and they become interested in things in this world. And children who are interested become educated, and not only do they become educated, but they also create the future. So when it comes to kids, man, you gotta show kids a lot of grace, because they don't understand nothing that's going on. From a kid to a teenager to a young adult, you probably not gonna understand much of what's going on. You can have a good grasp on things, what things are, but you always gonna have some type of concept that's going on. I'm not even in my 30s yet. I'm 25, so it's probably a lot more that I still have to learn. So there's a lot more that I still am learning, though. This is just my where I'm at right now. So and then guys, relationships. So I'm gonna talk about agents a little bit later, though. As of right now, just saying to the guys, you gotta hold tight to these women for that reason and that reason alone. And in order for it, they already broken by society, because in our structure, before, when we were in Africa, we were the most dominant. We had the most dominant genes. We had the most dominant physical genetics. We had the most dominant mental genetics. And the whole project of America was to strip us away from that. So they emasculated us, and they defeminized, they effeminized women. So it's a role reversal. So it's a lot of guys who feminine, and it's a lot of women who masculine. So you have to give women grace and allow her to be in the feminine. So how are you gonna allow her to be in the feminine? You're gonna allow her to be in the feminine by being masculine, like literally just being masculine around her enough to allow her to let that show. Literally, that's all it takes. Like, and what does that mean? That don't mean yelling. That don't mean extruding your voice. That don't mean being in any type of, like, literally you have to think more with your logic, because for when you stray away, it creates a sense of hopelessness. It creates a lack of identity within our society. So having that lack of identity, it creates women who are more independent and men who are more lonely. Men men and women are supposed to be interdependent, and then it creates a cycle where young women who grow up and young men who grow up in these single parent households, mainly ran by women. um it becomes a point where the young ladies have a rebellion of no mark of masculine leadership, and then the young men, they just end up continuing the cycle that their dad, that they may or may not know, or they may have briefly known, created. If you get what I'm saying. So if there's no leadership, if there's no structure, because that's all being masculine is discipline and structure. And if there's no discipline and structure, then it's just gonna lead to youthful rebellion. And then these kids are gonna grow up having to learn that lesson the hard way when we stray away from these things. So you gotta kind of hold tight and be able to deal. You have to be emotionally intelligent enough to know that this woman is feminine, and the only way for her to be feminine is for me to be masculine and take care of my duties and responsibilities as a man. Another thing is that you know, a lot of emotional dysfunction and a lot of the youthful men. There's a lot of agents out there who are only bred to create chaos. So getting to that in a minute, you have to remember that you are the original people. We stem from Africa, so you are the original people who started civilization. So you can't have anybody tell you that you're uncivilized, that you act like a savage, because a savage is somebody who lost his way. So they made you into a savage, and then them making you into a savage, they're trying to teach you over again what it's like to be civilized, when we're the ones who started civilizations. We didn't start off as savages because we didn't know what civilization was. We created civilization. They stripped us away from that civilization. We became savages. Then we learned how to create civilization again without them. But then they destroyed all of these black towns and whatever after the antebellum period, which is slavery. They destroyed all these towns or whatever, and then we had to rejoin society. And then you had the Great Migration going north, and that Great Migration going north left a lot of people getting redlined in cities like Chicago and New York. And then they finally got integration like they wanted to, but it's on their terms. It's on society's terms, the majority's terms, because we are the so-called savages, because they want to erase our history by teaching us civilization instead of reminding us that we created it. That's why America is so many money issues, there's so much homelessness, there's so much crime. We got presidents who always threatening the war against other countries every time something happens. So knowing that we are the original people who started civilization, it should spark something in your mind that makes you realize that we're more than capable of building wealth and raising functional families. So our ability to be interdependent and create brotherhood and sisterhood amongst ourselves is something that the system itself fears, because us being self-sufficient and not having to work off of the Federal Reserve is going to leave America broke. It's going to leave a lot of companies broke. It's going to leave a lot of corporate broke, because they depend on the black dollar. The black dollar is the most spent dollar in America. We are consumers. Though once we realize that we're creators again, then that is when we grasp our power back. And that's what the system fears the most, is that we become somebody who is of knowing thought that they are a creator. And I'm not just saying like you can make something out of thin air. I'm saying like you can create a product to sell it, to market it. You could you can create a service to market. You know, if you're an artist, you got paintings, you got music, you got you're an engineer, like you do software. It's plenty of things that stem from that category to where you can offer a service, a product. You know, you could sell something. That's literally all America is based off of, is selling stuff. So, um, and correction and function within our village prevents correction from the state. So, you know, we get more strict within our own villages enforcing this stuff. You know, we start shaming those who are having odd amount of kids out of wedlock, or even if maybe the parents are still together but they never got married. Okay, cool. But you have an odd amount of kids with different people. You know, we start shaming different behaviors that's going on, you know, whether it's perverted people, whether it's criminals, you know, gang banging, stealing, murderers, doesn't matter. X amount of people, even the SEX workers, you know, people, pimps, all types of stuff. So, and our communities would be better funded if we weren't the statistic. But where we get caught up a lot is that a lot of people think that they're just born to be a statistic when it's just statistics. You're not born to be a statistic. It's just a lot of psychotic people who predict things to happen because of a statistic. That makes sense? They predict behaviors based on statistics. Though a statistic isn't to say that you're supposed to be that way. Like some of the most, it's a statistic that says that black women are graduating at some of the highest rates. But that doesn't mean that every black woman is destined to go to college. There might be a black man who's destined to go to college over a black woman. Or there might be a Filipino man who's destined to go to college and be the first of his generation to go to college. So it's not to say that statistic is who you are. Okay? There's a statistic that you're most likely to get eaten. You're most likely to get in a plane crash or something like that than get eaten by a shark, but it's still people getting eaten by sharks. So, you know, you can make or break it. But we get a lot more funding in our communities if we weren't statistics, because nobody wants to be in areas where they can predict that there's crimes, and where there's multiple precincts, and where they get multiple precinct calls to. So that's a reality that we really have to live in, that is no fault to any past generation. Like we can blame fault on people for spreading the poison, but when they were given that poison to spread, it's nothing that we really can do about it besides look at the reality of the situation and then go, this is what we need to do to come up with a solution of how we're going to get rid of this problem. So all I gotta say is that you really gotta love one another. It's really as simple as that. And don't take what's yours. Don't borrow what you can't replace. Don't quarrel over trivial matters of thought. You know, a lot of stuff is not that serious, bro. It's not that serious. Don't, you know, if you can walk away, just walk away. Like if you can stop talking and just be quiet, just do that. You know, it's not worth fighting. It's not worth killing other people. It's not worth taking something from somebody, you know, that's not yours. And don't harm one another in an attempt to still fear and respecting one another. That's one thing. There's a A lot of us got guns, man. I have a legal gun, but it's not for fear or anything. It's for my protection, to protect myself and my family. But a lot of us get it illegally, man, and having it illegally, those are the YNs who out here, they want you to fear them. They didn't feel loved as a kid, so the only emotion that they can receive is fear, because fear was instilled in them and they thought that was power. So always be vigilant, especially at agents that try to undermine your sincerity in the progress, right? Because progression is the only objective you need to focus on, and the agent's objective is to cause and spread chaos. Though one who controls him or herself controls their reality. So just keep that in mind, that you in control of these situations. If it turns out positive, if it turns out negative, you're in control of these situations that you're in with your brothers and your sisters in these communities, with the people that you're supposed to be neighbors with, the people that you're supposed to love, that you're supposed to be family with. You are in control of the reality because you are in control of yourself. If chaos comes, then you're dealing with an agent, and the agent's only purpose is to cause disorder, disorganization, to halt progress. So just keep progressing, man. Keep progressing towards the future, and keep on being your good old self, man. I don't know y'all don't know me, but like I said, man, it's been your boy Xavier Khalid, Mr. X. Just get the name correct so I know that you respect. Make sure you leave a like, share, comment, subscribe. Do what you do to any old regular YouTube video. Free World Gang and out here. I appreciate y'all rocking out with me. Keep holding it down. The saga continues. Love y'all, man. Peace.